Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coach Replay. I'm super excited because this is a bit of a special edition episode. It's a series of episodes that we have with our guest today. So you'll tune in today as well as next week and the following week. It's a three-part series because what she has to share is too good to, one, try to jam into one episode, who has the time, and two, not have follow-up episodes. So I'm really excited. Again, this is instead of once a month, this month you're getting 3 episodes with one of our favorite people, our guest, Kelley Garris. Kelley is one of the lead coaches for Sibme's virtual coaching team. You'll hear a little bit more about that role, how she became a coach, but really the things that they are doing and that Kelley has experienced and brought in with her team to their coaching cycle. I'm super excited, Kim, super excited to get to share those things. So welcome, Kelley.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So tell everyone just a little bit about yourself. How did you get into coaching? What's virtual coaching? What was that transition for you? And a bit about your role.
I've been in education over 20 years, started like many of us do in the classroom, fell in love with being in the classroom, and then was asked to coach in person. And that was an amazing experience, but one that I thought many coaches connect with at first, going, what do I do? Like, how do I do all of this? And realizing over time the complexity that comes with coaching. Because of that, a little secret story is our current Sibme executive director ended up being my coach in person when I first started coaching, and watching her coach really made me realize that I had a lot to grow in. I had a lot of areas where I was like, that's not working as well as it could work. Watching her move mountains in a small amount of time was really impactful for me. And so we stayed connected. And when she joined Sibme years ago, she wanted to start this virtual coaching piece to Sibme and invited me to join as the first coach. So we grew together in that process. We're still growing together in that process, but I really think that virtual coaching is one of the most amazing opportunities for educators, instructional leaders, and all the way up to really realize the power of coaching and how you really can make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I too felt like when I got to see Allison in action that I had a lot I could still learn. It was something for me, the idea of virtual coaching as an in-person coach, struggling to make that even work. I was like, there's no way virtual coaching has a chance because I'm having a hard time making it work in person. But actually, it's my favorite kind of coaching. I think it allows for so much more individualized support and presence. Really, even that sounds funny, saying that about virtual versus in person, but I really do find that not only am I able to be more present, but so are the coachees, the clients that I'm supporting. So yeah, I love that you joined the team full time almost a year ago, back in August, and you've been working well. Like with the whole team has just been so busy this past year. So we're actually going to be talking about a bit of the magic that comes from your coaching kind of cycles that you have in the virtual coaching team, really around this idea of continuous improvement. And I want to go back to what you said about, your first experiences, like seeing Allison being able to like move big mountains. This whole theme for this first episode is really just about small goals and big wins. Moving mountains may sound not feasible, just like virtual coaching being successful didn't sound very feasible to me in the beginning, but it really can be. So let's talk about the idea of continuous improvement, and like what does that really mean when we are thinking about supporting teachers or leaders and coaching?
That's a wonderful question. I think I go back to the idea of habits of reflection, and I go back to the idea of we need to model that, and we in some ways need to teach that to everybody. So teachers that we're working with, but also instructional coaches and leaders, we want to build a habit of reflection, and I see that happening with continuous improvement. We have steps and phases we go through, but every single time we hit one of those phases, there's opportunity to continue to reflect, continue to to reset a goal, to re-examine a goal, to test a goal. I mean, we kind of wear a scientist hat, a detective hat. We kind of go through all of these pieces, all to say that we're still reflecting and growing and reflecting and growing. And the idea of continuity with that, with consistency, and with the word continuous, implies that I tell instructional coaches and leaders all the time, you could cycle with a person all year. You could do that easily, because what happens is we're constantly drawing and picking up new nuances and new observations and new data, and that data drives another goal and another goal, and we're refining a goal, and it just keeps going and going. All that to say, though, we're modeling and applying the idea of reflection, that we are continual learners, we are lifelong learners, and this is one way that we can do it well within education.
Kim, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the way that we coach here at Sibme is not an entire year long, but I do think that there are opportunities to stick with someone. The work is never done. I don't care how many years you have. And even with your 20 years, with my, I don't know, let's say 17, I've lost track. And with Corey's many, many, many years, I don't think anyone is ever finished as a coach or as a teacher learning. So, you might be finished with one section of a goal, but then maybe it's time to move on to a different one or refine. And I think the idea of modeling reflection also is really important, because Corey and I have talked about this a lot too, that reflection isn't always intuitive. People aren't always great at reflecting.
Right.
It's not something that comes easily. So sometimes that idea itself needs to be taught.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that often. I think of that in two parts. I think as coaches, the continuous improvement cycle is helping us refine our reflection of ourselves as well, because we have a certain skill set, or we think we do, going in. Somebody saw something in us a lot of times when we were that in-person coach that said, something's there. And we were rolling with that. But I think as we go through these coaching experiences, the continuous improvement cycle in ourselves is there, in that, we're constantly looking at, how did we handle that conversation? And did that feel right? Or, I still have a ways to grow here. I still think of myself, I've been coaching quite a while, and I know I was the first coach at Sibme, but I'm also going to be the first person to tell you that I'm still growing in this space. I'm meeting wonderful people from around the country, and every single one of them teaches me something about myself too. And I think that's really important, that every conversation we have, we walk in with the mindset of learning about ourselves and learning something special. And then obviously about the teacher too, modeling that reflection, asking appropriate questions that aren't leading, but so open, and your guide on the side, cheerleader, rooting them on, in the mindset of just rooting them on for success. And I think if we can continue to model that for teachers, it's a hope that they'll continue beyond a cycle and just start doing it, in life in general. And that's what we hope.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of a cycle, is it's got that repeatability, right? You can, that repetition is kind of built in. And by going through that cycle, sometimes just once, and building that capacity for reflection and understanding the connection between pieces of the cycle and how that they support each other as you go, I think that is really valuable. And that's something that I see when I do coaching well. It's when I've followed more of a, systematic cycle with the person that I'm supporting, that seems to work better for both of us. When I say doing coaching well, I feel like I've gained something from the experience as well as the person I've supported. So let's talk about the continuous improvement cycle. I'm going to share my screen to kind of show what it looks like. And I'd love for you to talk to us just a little bit about what are some of the key things. In the next couple of episodes, we'll dive into a few of these components. We'll go into kind of the most primary one today, but we'll jump into a couple of other pieces. But tell us why this continuous improvement cycle? What are the pieces that are really powerful here?
As a continuous improvement cycle, I think we have some of the standard pieces where we ask somebody to develop a goal. We ask them to implement some strategies. And at the end, we obviously ask them to engage in reflection. What we do a little bit differently at Sibme is we start with what's called awaken awareness. And I know we may talk about this in more depth later, but we really want to know the why. Where is your passion? Where is your, why are you here? It's so existential, right? Why are you here? But look, why are you a teacher? What brought you here? What brings you passion and purpose? And we think about that with the teacher, but we also think about that within ourselves. We really try to channel why as a coach, what brings us passion and purpose every day. And we feel that when we can touch upon that with a teacher and we already have that within ourselves, we feel that that's magic. We feel that teachers will apply more of what we're working on in this continuous improvement cycle if they really have this awareness, this reminder of the passion and purpose that they have behind their role in education. So we really tap into that. The other difference we have here is we ask teachers to come with a draft goal. We know sometimes that cycles begin for us later on in the year, and sometimes they already have goals that they want to work on and they want to refine and fine tune, and we love that. We ask them to bring that draft goal. If they don't have that in mind, we ask them to draw upon some of their superhero powers, which they all have, and some perhaps areas of frustration or areas for growth that they want to work on. But we say draft goal with intention because we ask them then to create what we call a baseline video, and we ask them to watch that. And at that point, we ask them to decide, do you want to keep your current goal, or did you see something in the video or perhaps in the AI report that we run that grabbed you differently, that you maybe want to make a change? So we really like that idea of draft. We really like that idea that it doesn't have to be, this is it, and this is how it's going to stay, that there's this flexibility built in to the first portion of the cycle for you to make a really great data-driven, passionate decision about what you want to do. So those are the two pieces in general that I think make us stand out more in Sibme.
Mm-hmm. I love the idea of the awaken awareness. I think many coaches that Kim and I have worked with, and we've also experienced this. Sometimes we're asked to support a group of teachers or some teachers where we really are we're struggling a little bit in helping them identify what it is we might most productively work on. And the idea of awakening awareness, sometimes I think I have a goal and then I start to break that down a little bit or talk to other people and realize that goal is a great one, but it's not actually the root goal I need to focus on. So the idea of doing a baseline video to really examine what it is you want to look at and decide if that is the piece that we want to move forward with the cycle with, I think is powerful. And it's starting in the very beginning of the cycle with reflection, which I think, Kim and I are big fans of that reflection. So I love that you're starting there. It's not just at the very end of the cycle, but you're beginning with that step.
It's infused. I mean, it is infused throughout. And we really feel strongly that, again, creating that habit of reflection is vital to for any educator or instructional leader to carry forth.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about when you're awakening awareness, you've started to look at a goal, thinking again about that moving mountains, how do you go about doing that within this cycle? Once we've, looked at that draft goal, done our baseline video, what's something that you all leverage in the coaching conversations that really support success?
We also think, along with habits of reflection, we think clarity is amazing, right? Brene Brown says clear is kind, right? So we try to make goal setting, I say, and this is probably not the way to say it, I say crispy clean. I like things to be exact when it comes to a goal, because when you get to that engage and reflection at the end, if things are gray, that conversation sometimes can go off the rails at times. So what we decided at Sibme is to really use what we call the success criteria. So once we've achieved that landed goal, we want to make sure that we have a strategy in place that is fully aligned with the goal and a measurement that has a number to it. And I know that sounds simple, but we really want to make sure there's a number so that when we really do this final reflection, we're able to decide, did you hit your goal or not? If you didn't, that's okay. Like, what do we do differently then? What do we need to do? What did you notice in the videos and the data that you collected that, that will propel us into that continuous improvement cycle again? So we want to make sure that we have a strategy. And when we say strategy, we want one. Especially, we want bite size, right? Small goals, big wins. Well, we want to have one strategy. We don't want to have a link of multiple strategies, because then it also gets really hard to measure, especially when one piece is working and the other piece isn't. So we want one strategy and we want one measurement, and we try to keep that very, very tight. So in our example here, we talk about decreasing the amount of time spent in the dismissal process. So we want one strategy. Well, one of our strategies says that if you teach it, you model it, and you practice it in a low stakes environment, that hopefully we can get that dismissal time down. So that's one strategy. And then we have a measurement. We have numbers in our measurement. 90% of the students will correctly follow the dismissal procedure in less than 5 minutes. And again, that's not our measurement. We put that on the teacher, the coachee in our sense. We put that on them. What is feasible for you? That's not my call. What's reasonable for you? What do you think is going to work? So we always say we volley those questions back to the coachee, because we want to ignite that passion and purpose. It needs to be about them. We can offer guide on the side support, but ultimately we want them to develop these pieces, and we'll be their cheerleaders and their support on the side with whatever they need.
Yeah. And I think you said something earlier about like asking the right questions. I think that has a lot to do with these conversations. Is like, I don't have all the answers as a coach, but I do need to have a solid measurement so that we know whether or not improvement has taken place. But it is about asking some good questions. So to kind of wrap up this episode, but don't worry, we'll have another one next week. I just want to know, what are some challenges? It's not all roses as we're coaching. What are some challenges that you face as you're going through these cycles?
That's a great question. I feel like when we read and we grow in these areas, we continue to read about different types of coaching and all the different labels they put on all these situations, right? I feel like so often I can't put myself in one box. And I feel this, I feel this type of coaching for this, and this person needs this. I just feel like there's a lot of gray there, that situational coaching can't be put in one box all the time. And a person needs 1 week this potential type of coaching, but maybe needs something different later. And it's that push and pull of me examining myself and continually examining myself to say, what is going to work best for this teacher to have success and to build success, or this instructional coach, as we work with some individuals, what is going to bring success for them? What is going to continue to ignite their passion and purpose and acknowledge where they are? So I don't know if that's a perfect answer for you, but I feel like I'm dancing between these categories of coaching that have been set out there in the ether, and I don't fit exactly into one. And I'm constantly refining my questions and the way I approach situations, in growing in that area, but never fitting into one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think we are all humans. You're human, you're coaching humans, you're growing, they're growing. So, and so a box just doesn't work in these situations, and you can't be held in that. I mean, I know from seeing the data that comes out of coaching how impactful this is for people who are a coach. So y'all are doing it right, but it's not a one size fit all for everybody.
Nope.
So yeah.
Nope.
So I think that wraps up this episode, right, Corey?
It does, yes. So we're going to dive a bit deeper in the following episodes. Join us next week as we talk a little bit more about awakening awareness and your coaching identity with Kelley. We're going to continue this conversation, and we'll air that portion of it next week. And then the third and final episode of the series will be a bit more on how do we strategize to really meet those goals. So small goals, big wins, awakening awareness, and your coaching identity, all coming up in the next couple of weeks with Kelley Garris. Thanks so much, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.